Sowore calls for Nigeria's graduate service scheme NYSC stipend hike to 250,000. Says Corps members gearing up to reject 33,000 slave wage. Omoyele Sowore, the convener of the Revolution Now movement, has lambasted the 33,000 monthly stipend for National Youth Service Corps members as a slave wage. He warned that Corp members are on the verge of rejecting this mega payment and demanded that the President Bola Tinubu-led administration increase their monthly allowance to 250,000. Wow. You know, considering the NLC 1 month to 2 month request for increment, that was, we all saw what played out. What can you say about this call from Omoyele Sowore for the NYSC? And again, why is he making this request for them? Why is he being the spokesperson for the NYSC? Are they the one that requested for this? And is it the right voice to cry out for the NYSC? What can you say about this?
Well, what I see happening is a replica of what happened in 2019.
Okay.
In 2019, when the minimum wage was increased from 19,000 naira to, I think, 30,000 naira, that was during the President Muhammadu Buhari's regime.
Administration.
He said the 30,000 naira increase is applicable to even the youth corps members then. And that was when the service at the Alawi was increased from 19,800 to 33,000 naira that they are currently collecting. So I think Omoyele Sowore here may be relating it alike. That since the minimum wage then was applicable to the NYSC then in 2019, it should also be the same thing in this year 2024. But one thing that Omoyele is not clear about is that it's not clear about the amount that they should
Federal
be earning.
government.
I mean, if at all it was applicable to them in 2019, it should also that means what he should be talking about now is that he should be talking about how the 70,000 naira now that they are paying to NLC should also be applicable to core members now. So what I don't understand is why Omoyele Sowore is talking about 250,000 naira and getting Nigerians' reaction. A lot of Nigerians are saying that Omoyele Sowore is trying to stir up Nigerians to anger, especially the core members. You know, year in, year out, these people go for service every year. They go for their service and there are a lot of them. And, people are saying that Omoyele Sowore is trying to steer the core members to come out to fight for the 250,000 naira. It is another form of protest. But I am not seeing it like that. If Omoyele Sowore had been realistic enough on the 70,000 naira that since it was applicable in 2019, it should be applicable now, I will support him. But now that he's talking about 250,000 naira and he called the 33K as a slave wage, I don't know. I'm still trying to weigh what he's saying.
Well, I'm surprised that he's saying all this because all through the period that NLC were fighting for this minimum wage, living wage, he never said anything. I don't know if he said, and I never heard him, talk about it. So, but now my concern is why at this time we just finished the protest, which has led to no output, nothing, and nobody is talking about. He's not even saying anything about the protest, which he was among the people that we can say that were being the front liner of the protest, and he's not saying anything. And all of a sudden, he's raising another topic. He's raising another motion, and I've been asking, why is it that this man is doing all this? Should I call it treasonable moves, as the government will always target, and the president is not saying anything about it? What can you say? Why do you think the president is always quiet about this young man?
You see, the thing is that somebody will have to be. Everybody cannot be active. Some people will be passive. Somebody will have to be the one to be speaking, to be speaking on behalf of some people. And we cannot all see things from the same angle. We have to see things from different angle. Okay. That's why I said earlier that if Omoyele Sowore had been talking about 70K increase for the core members, I won't have issues. But now that he is talking about 250,000 naira, and on why the Nigerian government are not saying anything to Omoyele Sowore, I think what the Nigerian government are doing is they are practically saying that they are practically following the saying, silence is the best answer for a fool. That is what they are doing. That this one is not somebody we can respond to.
Sorry, this one you just talked now, it hit me. Because they were looking for the organizers of the just concluded protest. And they've been seeing this man talking about the protest. Yeah, they didn't go to him. They didn't arrest him. And you just spotted something like that. It is their silence means silence is the best answer to a fool. Wow.
Exactly. So that is what we see saying. And speaking on that, they are looking for organizers. NLC that didn't even say anything. NLC that they just benefit. NLC that they just blessed. They are now the one they are looking at. So on why they can't do anything to Omoyele Sowore. First, Omoyele is an activist. He has every right to say whatever he's saying. That is the role and duty of an activist. Somebody will be the one to spot a problem. Somebody will be the one to talk about it. So another thing I'm looking at here is that I just hope that, because Omoyele Sowore is also a presidential candidate in the 2023 election, I think with the NMPP or thereabout. So I also hope that he's not doing all of these things. I hope that all of these things that he's coming up with is stemming from a place of activism. And if it is not stemming from a place of activism, we hope that he's not doing all of these things just to gain people's attention in the 2027 election that is coming. So on why Mr. President is not saying anything about it, maybe they feel like Omoyele is the least of their problem now, and they shouldn't be talking about it.
It's
and
not
a lot of
it's
not worth talking about. And a lot of Nigerians, a lot of core members are beginning to let's look at this thing holistically again. You see, the 33,000 naira that the core members are saying, first, they learn skills even in the course of this 1 year service. So it is just like you are interning and you are being paid for internship. And for Nigerians that can take advantage of the opportunity that is given to them, it is not even a time to be calling for an increase in an increase in the wage, that the allowance that they are paying to all these core members. I think it is a time for them to say that is this this 1 year service a compulsory thing? That's another thing they should be looking at. Should they make it compulsory for all Nigerian students who graduate to come for this 1 year service? Because you see that there are a lot of Nigerians who graduate, and after getting their results, because they do not have that 1 year certificate, they hardly give them importance like
and
that.
And this thing can be done online.
Exactly, they hardly give them importance like that. You see, and what I'm saying here is that 1 year service, they are just, as much as Nigerian students are learning during this 1 year, it is also a way of enslaving them, because you see that the duties that they are supposed to give to some people to do, a lot of these people, other people, there are some civil servants that they are working with, some public servants that they are working with, they will not take up that responsibility. It is these core members that will take up those responsibilities, and they are paying them meager for it. So the fight should be, should they make this 1 year service a compulsory thing? It should be voluntary. That actually should be the fight for on behalf of the core members. And trust my Nigerian people, a lot of those core members are saying that it is that khaki that will make people to know that I went to school, I'm a graduate. That if you don't, there are a whole lot of parts to this story.
Some of them who have no good job to show, they can show you the picture of their khaki.
Exactly.
That they actually, if you are doubting them, they will show you picture. And one thing finally that I would like to hear your thoughts about is, if the former administration talked about the minimum wage being applicable to the NYC, what do you think is the reason why this administration, because the now president said he's going to continue from where the former administration stopped. Why do you think, or why do you think they've not applied the same to the NYC? Because of course, from all that has been happening, we can see for true that it is a continuity of where the former administration stopped.
Well, we should note that before the previous administration arrived at the 30,000 naira as minimum wage in 2019, there was no issues like this.
Okay.
They didn't have to come outside to protest. There was no fights. There was no back and forth, even though there were slight issues on the background.
Yeah.
But it is not as intense as what we see happening in this administration. That is one. And secondly, the previous administration did not have to debate whether the minimum wage is applicable to NYSC or not. They just implemented it
Okay.
some months after the minimum wage was approved in 2019. So relating it with what you're seeing in this administration, they ought to have arrived at a good minimum wage since September 2023. A committee ought to have been set up 6 months prior to the day that the minimum wage is to be expired. The minimum wage is supposed to expire by I think March or April, early April, thereabouts. And they ought to have set up a committee since September 2023. A committee was not set up.
Mm.
NLC fought for a committee to be set up. By the time a committee was set up, a committee was only set up when NLC began to threaten for a
For a
protest.
protest.
Do you see that? So there were a lot of debates even before they arrived at this 70K. And before this 70K would not have been approved if not that Nigerians are saying they will come outside to protest. So just to save their name, they approved that 70K. So imagine an administration that would have to do all of those things to save their name. You think they care about an average Nigeria? They do not
Coming
care
to
about
that.
a poor person in Nigeria, an average person in Nigeria. Whatever become of a poor person in Nigeria is their cup of tea to handle.
Coming to this protest of a thing and the 70,000 naira minimum wage, we saw that it was almost at the time the protest was to happen that they approved the 70, they accepted to pay 70,000. Now that the protest has ended and nothing was achieved, do you think this administration, judging from the way they operate, will still maintain that 70,000? We've seen state governors that have been saying that they cannot afford. So now, judging that from the fact that this protest did not even move them, do you think they are still going to continue the payment of 70,000 as their minimum wage?
Well, Nigerians should understand that if our leaders cannot be accountable to us, we can hold them accountable. All of these reports are online. Any person using an Android phone can access all of this information online. The report shows that the senators, our lawmakers, has approved 70,000 naira as minimum wage. So anyone who tries to violate that, such a person should be sued. That is what to do. Such a person, because the federal government, the number one citizen, has approved the payment of this 70,000 naira. So who are you to say that you want to overrule what the federal government has said? So the report is online. If they will not want to pay that amount of money, for any public servant who knows their rights, they can use all of those reports against them. You have approved this thing as at so time. Tell us why you are not paying us, and they can be sued for not paying their salary, for not paying their minimum wage, as they call it. So that is what the Nigerian workers can do if this administration cannot keep up with it. And they have no choice to keep up with it because they've included it in the supplementary budget. The supplementary budget for 2024, they've included it in a 6.6 trillion naira. It is not, and the money has been approved by our lawmakers. So what do they want to tell us?
All right. Talking about, my final notes, talking about the Nigerians suing leaders or suing anybody. We know we cannot get justice in the law system of Nigeria currently. So it's not even a good one because the people they have in there is themselves and nobody can get justice from them. But what I want to say about Omoyele Sowore is that let it be that he's coming out to talk for the interest, for the benefit of the people and not for his own personal interest ahead of time. Let it not be that he's trying to water ground for himself ahead of 2027. Because I believe that even in as much as this protest could not achieve, its purpose, 2027 is not going to be smiling. Let it not be that all this thing is just to draw attention because Nigerians too are smart. Nigerians too are very smart. So I would like you give us your final note as we end the newspaper review for today.
All right. Almost Yele Sowore has given a good call, and like we said, like we have rightly stated here, that he's an activist. and it is duties of activists are not working for anybody. They spot a problem, highlight solution, and highlight the way forward. So he has spotted it. It is something that any average person can spot. Just like we spotted in the time of NLC when they approved 70,000 naira for them, or when they were talking about 494,000 naira as their minimum wage. We were considering if other private sectors could afford that. So any person can spot a problem, but the another thing to look at is if what you are spotting is not just to steer people to anger, and at the end they will not get what they wanted.
All right. On the final note, we will know that Omoyele Sowore always come out to talk how he feel, just like Peter Obi come out to talk about how he feel about anything, anybody in his position will always come out. But we see that the government we have is not a listening government. But we would like to hear your comment in our comment section. What do you feel? What is your thought on this call from Omoyele Sowore and every other news you've joined us or reviewed with to we've reviewed today? We'd like to hear your comment in our comment section as we draw the curtain today. Please do well to follow us in all our social media handles on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook at Prime Media Studio, at Prime Media TV. Till we come your way again, same time, same station, please stay tuned.